So risks, because let's ask that question, and that's the main part that I wanted to talk about, because, and this is something else I'm gonna put out there, because Yoni eggs are sold by people who have a direct, what's the word? How would I put this?
Take your time.
Yeah, because eggs are sold by people who are directly affected by how the product is marketed and viewed, there is or emotional spiritual risk tied to using Yoni eggs. And the reason why, I said I won't get into the exact story as to why I decided to do this broadcast. But what I will say is that I came to a realization that, there's information about them that is not put out there, because the whole idea is like, oh, it's a fad, it's cool, everyone's doing it, let's Yoni eggs, the sisterhood, and this and this and that. But then it's like, okay, well, what are the side effects? What are the risks? Are there, oh, no. It's great. Yoni eggs are great. Yoni eggs are good. It's a sisterhood. Like, oh, everybody's doing it. Oh, it's good for this. Oh, it's good for that. And it's just like, okay, but no, everything that's out there has side effects. I mean, even herbs, herbs are natural, but, if you take too much dandelion root, then you're going to have side effects in your kidneys. I mean, if you take, if I drink cohosh, it's a form of a natural contraceptive, but I know if I take too much of it, it's toxic. So it's just like, okay, yeah, it's great, yes, and it's got these benefits, but everything has a side effect. And so I realized that the information about the potential dangers of using Yoni eggs was purposely not talked about. Purposely, and I'll say that it's purposely not talked about, because people make a profit from Yoni eggs, and that profit is determined by the reputation of the Yoni egg. And if there's anything that may taint the reputation of eggs, then that's a potential threat. I don't sell Yoni eggs, so I don't have a stake in it. But even if I did sell Yoni eggs, my integrity wouldn't even allow me to put this tool out to people and not discuss this, what could potentially happen. And that's me as a healer. And that's another thing. A lot of people who sell Yoni eggs aren't healers. They're entrepreneurs. And so the way they approach the ethics behind it, completely different. So there's are the programming. So remember that's why I say be very intentional with the programming, because the egg will do whatever you tell it to do. And I'm saying down to every last specific word, because if you're not, then you'll have a situation like how I had, where, I'm bleeding, like looking like I got shot, and puddles, literally red, thick ass puddles of blood on the bathroom floor. And I'm over here calling shaman hands like, yo, what am I going to do? I've never bled like this before. Am I dying? Like, still remembers that phone call. I was like, and then of course, because I had to call a healer, because, and I got my egg from someone very reputable. So, when I go into where to get the eggs, I'm definitely going to mention where I got my eggs from, because she's legit. But she's not a healer. So she's not someone that I couldn't call her and be like, yo, I bought this Yoni egg from you and now I'm bleeding damn near to death. But a lot of that also had to do with me not being informed about how to be intentional with the programming. So I learned that through personal experience. So just be very intentional with the program, because it can either be over dramatic, overkill, or it can be underkill, depending on what you say. Overwearing. So I mentioned earlier not wearing your egg all day. You don't need to do that, because first of all, crystals already generate such a high vibration. Anyway. and just wearing it, keeping it around in your house. And then you're going to couple that with putting it in your womb, which as a woman, it's where we all of our healing comes out of our womb. Our life force, our ability to create life. I mean, there's no stronger energy in our bodies as women in the womb, the sacral. So, then you're incubating this strong crystal in this extremely high vibrational space. And then you want to wear it all day? No, that's not what we want to do. Honestly, you really should only be wearing your Yoni eggs for when you do yoga or meditate or, ritual work, very short periods of time, hour, 2 hours at a time. Bathing, you can wear it when you bathe. I would not ever recommend using a Yoni egg for more than a couple of hours. I think the longest that I've used an egg was when I go to sweat lodges, and then I'll be in the sweat lodge for about 3-4 hours and I'll have the egg in. But that's also very specific. So, because what's happening is then your chakras become overcharged and then they're imbalanced. They're imbalanced. They're either over or under. And then, depending on what type of stone you're using, like for example, if you're using clear quartz, citrine, especially amethyst, because amethyst is for the crown chakra, crown and third eye. It's going to open you up automatically. So not only is it opening up your sacral, but then it's opening your 6th and 7th chakra. And then you're just completely open and third eye, intuition. And if you're not ready for it, it could be a lot, then you're downloading all these information, you're being susceptible to other people, if you're an empath, that's why it blown wide open, and then you're going to be in that for however many hours you're going to be wearing that Yoni egg. No. So, you also want to watch out for coupling it with other stones, because I'll tell you, some stones don't play well together. There's some stones that do not work well with other stones. Tiger's Eye is one. I've rarely seen a stone that I think onyx might be the only stone I've ever seen Tiger's Eye vibrate well with. Malachite only works good with hematite. There's certain stones that you just, so then if you wear your egg and then you got all this stone jewelry or another crystal somewhere, it's just going to throw you all out of whack. So, don't overwear the egg. You don't need it all day. Let's see. Some minerals are dangerous. Yes, some minerals are dangerous. So I'm going to talk about that. So I mentioned earlier that the stones, crystals, tune to whatever minerals that we have in our body naturally. And I listed a few. But then there's some that there's quite a few minerals that occur naturally in the environment, but they don't occur naturally in our body. So for example, galena stone is a wonderful tool for divination, past life recall. It's great for grounding. However, it's lead-based. Its chemical composition contains lead. So, and we all know lead will fuck you up. Lead causes all kinds of issues. So even like I've used galena stone, but I'm even instructed to wash my hands, and make sure I don't get any of it in my eyes or mouth or whatever, because it's galena is almost pure lead. So yeah, it's a stone used for healing and metaphysics purposes, but it's got chemicals in it that are minerals in it that are toxic. Same thing with limestone. Limestone's sulfur. Now, sulfur is naturally occurring in our body, but there's not high trace amounts of it. So, and limestone is great for banishing, getting rid of any, it's really great for white magic or any type of Wiccan rituals or spells where you're banishing or getting rid of spirits or anything that you need to cut cords or let go of. But again, it's sulfur, so you definitely are not going to burn limestone. You're definitely not going to want to put yourself in the position to inhale it. So yeah, there are certain minerals and stones that are not safe. So I'm going to go through two lists. One list is stones that you should use, because I do get a lot of questions on what type of stones. So I'm going to give a list of stones that you should use that are safe, and I'm going to have a list of stones that are not safe, and I'm going to talk about why they're not safe. Stones to use: any quartz. Any quartz, quartz crystals are made of silicate, some form of silicate, depending on what type. But quartz is the most common forming stone on planet Earth. So we're talking about amethyst is a quartz, clear quartz is a quartz, smoky quartz. Citrine is also a quartz. Actually, citrine is clear quartz that's been heated, and so that's what gives it its tinge, because the heat pulls out the iron molecules, and that's what gives it that yellowy golden tint. So that's something that people don't know, is that a lot of citrine that you use has been treated not chemically, but it's not naturally forming, because natural forming citrine is actually very rare. So any citrine that you buy has been heated in the lab somewhere. So just so y'all know that, I just want to put that disclaimer out there, because I know we love us Nubian people, we love citrine, and it's a great stone. It's great for the solar plexus. It's great to bring money in, and it does not hold any negativity. But just know that yellow is not natural. It is natural, but your citrine wasn't natural. If you bought citrine that's natural, you're going to be spending at least a couple $100 because it's rare. So that's quartz, the quartz family. Any jasper. There's all kinds of different types of jasper. Picture jasper, Dalmatian jasper, red jasper. Jasper comes in so many different forms. And the way that you can tell jasper is that it's not banded. That's the difference between jasper and agate, is that jasper will never be banded. It'll be it'll have spots of colors, it'll have speckles, it'll be solid, but it'll never be banded. So any jasper is safe. Carnelian's another safe one, and I actually encourage women to use carnelian yoni eggs, because one, especially Nubian women, carnelian works well with our biochemistry and our biology, like our DNA, because of its chemical composition. Also, it's great for creativity, great for the second chakra, great for getting rid of any type of infertility issues, great for generating money in abundance. So all around, carnelian is just a great stone, and it's gentle enough to where it is a fire element, but if for those who also are fire signs like Sagittarius, Leos, and Aries, it's not too much fire to create any imbalances. And carnelian works well with any of the stones, so you can pair it up if you're wearing a yoni egg and you got a quartz necklace, or you got a malachite ring or whatever. Carnelian is universal. So obsidian. So I put a star by obsidian because I'm about to do a rant, and Silk is very much aware about my obsidian rant. So this is another issue that I have about people who sell yoni eggs, because they have no idea about crystals. Black obsidian is volcanic glass. It's metamorphic rock. It's usually just all black, all shiny, looks like black glass. It is a fire earth element. It is a shaman stone. And when I say a shaman stone, what I mean is that obsidian, it's for protection. Yes, it's for purification. It gets rid of any negativity, shield your aura from any psychic attacks, things like that. But as a shaman stone, what it also does is it brings anything that you keep suppressed to the surface. So and that's what shamans do. Shamans work with shadow self. They do shadow self work. And that's what shamanism is. And so the shadow self is the things that we hide. And so obsidian as a shaman stone is going to bring up all the stuff that we hide, or that you hide. And so I tell women to be very careful with the black obsidian, because you got to be prepared. It's going to bring up all your shit. to the surface. And if you're not ready to deal with it, if you're not expecting it, you're going to be all out of sorts. And I've seen it in groups too. Women will be like, oh my God, I got this obsidian and now I'm mad. Like, I'm always angry and I'm never angry. I'm always happy-go-lucky. And I'm like, well, it's that obsidian. I said, and that's the reason why you're always so happy-go-lucky, because you got shit that you hide. You're passive-aggressive. You don't talk about your feelings. You just brush things under the rug. And that's what makes you always so happy. But then now all that anger and frustration that you brush under the rug is coming to the surface. And it's because you got this egg that you had no idea does that, especially with the going in the womb. So now it's bringing up all your womb issues, to the surface. And it does it instantly and very extreme. It's not the obsidian. Black obsidian is not a gentle stone. And actually, metaphysicians don't even recommend that you wear obsidian. You're actually really supposed to just place it around the house. And according to feng shui, well, that and black tourmaline, but obsidian, when you do place it around the stone, around the house, you're supposed to balance it with selenite. Because too much obsidian around the home will cause arguments because everybody's shit's coming to the surface. So, I tell women, please, and I cringe every time I see a black obsidian egg on somebody's website for sale. And I'm just like, OMG, no. And yeah, it's black and it looks pretty and everything, but it's going to mess you up if you're not ready for it. I only recommend it for women who have had some very intense sexual trauma that they need to work through. So women who have been raped or molested or who have experienced like domestic violence situations, I recommend black obsidian because it'll help bring that to the surface so they can heal. It'll also purify the damage from that type of sexual experiences. But no, for everybody else, no. Put the black obsidian down, please. Please put it down. No. So yeah, so I say black obsidian for extreme sexual trauma healing, but not for anything else. No. Jade is another one, and I encourage jade because jade was the original Yoni egg. Back in the day, Yoni eggs were made specifically from jade. It's earth element, beautiful green, very calm, peaceful, serene, but it also represents, because it's earth energy, it brings abundance. So any women who want to do any type of like money rituals or any type of rituals where they're invoking like Venus energy, money, Lakshmi, any of those, jade, hands down is like the best egg and crystal to use, jade. Unikite. I like Unikite. It's this pretty green and pink stone that's naturally green and pink because it's feldspar, and I can't remember. Feldspar is what makes it pink, and I can't remember what makes it green. And I actually have some Unikite beads, but I like Unikite specifically for several reasons. One, it looks really pretty. It's a really pretty stone, but it's also unique for a few reasons because one, it tunes to Mars and Venus energy. So you get the balance of both the masculine and the feminine. So any women who are doing any work where they have to balance their masculine and feminine, their yin and yang energy, Unikite is ideal. Especially it works well for women who are identify as lesbian or who are androgynous or queer, because a lot of women with that sexual orientation are in need and wanting to balance their masculine and their feminine. So Unikite is really good for that. It also is one of the only stones that I know of that balances fire and water, because a lot of times it's either fire and earth, or it's just fire. I'm yet to see a fire and air element combination, but it's the only stone that I've seen that balances fire and water. And so it's grounding, and that's another thing that's unique because it's the only water element stone that I know that grounds, because we all know that water is emotional and water is not a grounding element. But Unikite, it does that. It does that. And actually it's helped for me because I've been using it to cultivate my water energy, but also ground me too at the same time. And that's actually important for people who are not used to working with water energy. It can tend to make you emotional because you're not used to the water. And so if you have a stone that grounds you, but allows you to still flow with those emotions, that's a good thing. So that's Unikite. Any agate. I love agate, and agate is banded. I think it's a form of chalcony. I think that's how you say it. And it's always banded. And the agate's that stone where, if you don't know what a stone is, and people just say it's agate because it falls into the other category as the other. But it's earth element. And it's actually good for Virgos. Virgos tend to be attracted to agate. And the earth element is, the divine feminine goddess energy. Very peaceful, very serene. And so actually for those who are just starting to use Yoni eggs, I actually would recommend agate because the energy is not too strong. It's grounding, it's peaceful, it'll do the healing work, and it won't overwhelm you. Malachite is another one that I recommend. But it's got a star by it because malachite is oxidized copper. So it's basically a copper that has turned, it's been oxidized, and it gives it that green. It's a beautiful light and dark green banded stone. It's rare here, so it's kind of pricey. So anytime, if you can even find a malachite yoni egg, which those are rare, and if you do find it, you're going to spend at least $100 on it because that's going to be one of those stones that you're not going to, because even a small piece of malachite is expensive. But it is great for DNA repair. The copper in it pulls out toxins. So I recommend it for women who are going through any type of physical, what's the word? Physical, like they're recuperating from any type of like surgeries that were done on the womb. So any thing where your womb needs to repair itself, malachite's a very good stone. But I would only recommend it for that because malachite, if it is overused, it can be toxic. So I would only use it to repair the DNA, and that's it. I wouldn't use it for anything else. So I wanted to put that disclaimer out there. Aventurine is another one that I really like. And actually, aventurine is really just quartz with copper in it. And so that's why if you ever notice aventurine, it has little copper flakes in, like gold looking flakes in it. That's the copper. It's just quartz has been, that has copper in it. It is, I want to say it's earth element. I'll have to double check that. But if I remember correctly, it is earth element, and it's good for attracting money. So it's another one. It's another one that's good from as a money abundance. If you're doing any type of rituals for Lakshmi or Venus or any of those Kuan Yin, like any of that type of energy work, goddess work or deity work is the word. Aventurine is really good for that. It's also good for attracting money because and I think I need to start wearing it again because when I started wearing it, I was getting all kinds of clients, money in the account. It fits really well on the altar. The altar spaces love that stone. So those are the stones that are good and safe to use that I'm aware of that tend to most commonly are found as yoni eggs. Stones to avoid. All right. So stones to avoid, and there's some to avoid because of the mineral composition isn't supported by our body, our biochemistry, and they're toxic. And then there's some to avoid because they're just not good for women or for womb work, like on a metaphysical level. Bloodstone. Bloodstone is great stone for healing and for anything that has to do with the kidneys and the liver or the blood, which is why it's called bloodstone. However, it's not good for the womb. The reason why is because, it's only good for the womb if you are trying to regulate your menstrual cycle. So say there's a lot of women who are on birth control, and then they get off of birth control, and then they're like, for example, I don't take prescription birth control, so I don't know the names, but those birth controls where you don't have a period, or you might have a period like once a year or something like that. Women who get off those and they want to get their moon cycle to come, Bloodstone is great because it'll do that. It purifies the blood, it supports the kidneys and the liver. But for those who have regular moon cycles, it's gonna just make you bleed more. It's gonna create imbalances in the hormones. So Bloodstone is not for the womb. It's not. So I wouldn't recommend it to women unless you want to get your cycle going again. And then even with that, I would only suggest that you use it until your cycle starts and it's regulated, and then just don't use it anymore. Yes, Snowflake Obsidian. This is another pet peeve. Okay, so I mentioned obsidian, and I already talked about why regular obsidian is not ideal unless it's under extreme circumstances. Snowflake Obsidian, and this is another one. Like, I cringe when I see black obsidian, but I want to throw my computer when I see Snowflake Obsidian being sold to women as Yoni eggs, because that's my clear indication that whoever's selling them eggs don't know what the hell they're doing, what type of crystals that they're selling to women. Because Snowflake Obsidian is not for women. Snowflake Obsidian is a masculine, it's a warrior stone. It's for warrior men. And then you get these women who get this Snowflake Obsidian, and then they have all these issues because of the stone. And then what I see is common is women lose their eggs. There's so many stories of women losing their Snowflake Obsidian Yoni eggs down the toilet than any other stone. And that's that Snowflake Obsidian telling your ass that, yo, like, I'm not for you. I'm not for you. So no, Snowflake Obsidian is not for women. Snowflake Obsidian, the difference between that and regular obsidian is that Snowflake Obsidian has these little flakes in it that they're either like a dark or a light gray, or they're white, which is why they're called snowflakes. What those flakes are they're a form of quartz. So basically it's obsidian that has quartz in it. But it's not just any quartz, it's a polymorph. And what a polymorph is it is a quartz that has has all the same minerals, but a different geometric pattern or shape to it. But that geometric shape is enough to completely change the vibration, which is morphs. That's why it's called a polymorph. And that polymorph is called cristobalite. So the crystal, the mineral that's in Snowflake Obsidian is called cristobalite. When you look up cristobalite is specifically for the male reproductive system. That is what makes Snowflake Obsidian masculine. So here you have women getting this crystal and putting it in their womb, but the crystal is for the male reproductive system. It's not for the female reproductive system. So Snowflake Obsidian does absolutely shit for the womb. And I'm gonna say that again. Snowflake Obsidian does absolutely nothing to help heal or cultivate the womb. That's why I do say, like, you have a better chance of using black obsidian, because at least you get the purification and the release from any type of traumas. But Snowflake Obsidian is not, no. And even more so at that, Snowflake Obsidian, it's specifically for men who are going through transition, who want to set up, it supports men who are building foundations. So say men who just got married and they want to build a home, so it supports that. So, men who, are going out and starting new jobs. So it's not only does it support the masculine male reproductive system, but it also supports male warrior energy work, period, and male warrior actions, period. So I'm just like, no Snowflake Obsidian. And if you have a Snowflake Obsidian egg, please put it away. Don't use it. You don't, honestly, you need to give that to find a male and gift it to them, because they will benefit 1,000 times more than you will ever benefit from that egg or any Snowflake Obsidian. And there was a woman that I saw the other day that was wearing a Snowflake Obsidian bracelet. I almost told her, but she was a little bit masculine, so I don't know. But actually, she was real masculine, so I just kind of let that alone. But yeah, it's no Snowflake Obsidian. So does that answer the question still? Because I was just like, I'm just not even gonna continue to. So no Snowflake Obsidian. All right, and then there are. So I'm gonna write that in. So then there's 5 that I'm gonna list, and then I'm gonna give the story as to why I'm listing them. So kyanite is a no, turquoise is a no, rhodonite, sodalite, and moonstone. So I'm gonna say that again. Kyanite, turquoise, rhodonite, sodalite, and moonstone. And the reason why is because these all fall in the category as aluminum silicates. And aluminum silicates, silicates are common, as I said, that's the quartz family, but aluminum is not supported by our body. Our bodies don't support aluminum in their system. Aluminum is like lead. It's another naturally forming mineral, but it's not natural to our body. So anything that's not natural to our body automatically reads it as foreign when it enters our body. And we all know what our bodies do to anything that it deems as foreign. It attacks it. And that's how, you have, and we know aluminum causes cancer, kidney failure, Alzheimer's, all of that. That's the reason why we try to stay away from aluminum beauty products and, aluminum foil and, aluminum hair care products and things like that, because it's not conducive to our bodies. Now, the reason why this came out was because Stills had informed me some months ago about a talk that was being done about baby powder being connected to cancer and Yoni eggs as a correlation. And there was a blog talk, right? There was a blog talk, a webinar about it that I missed. I didn't miss the webinar. Is the link still up for that webinar, or do we know? Can you post the name of the lady, the woman, the queen that did that? Yeah, that was who. Yeah. She Okay, so that's what it was. Okay. Yeah. So she did the webinar. I missed it. I don't remember if I was working or I had an obligation. I missed it. But I was very curious about it because I use Yoni eggs, and this was my first time hearing of this. So I looked up, I did my own research. I'm a scientist, I metaphysics, I research things, and so, I'm very big on the chemical compositions of things. So it's very well known that baby powder is made from talc. Talc is a natural forming mineral. It's very, powdery. And so when I did the research, I found that talc is made from magnesium silicate, both very natural occurring minerals in the body. Those shouldn't cause cancer, and they don't. However, there's a certain process in the formation of talc sometimes where high pressure and low heat changes the chemical composition from magnesium silicate to aluminum silicate. Now, the reason why all these, baby powder companies are being sued is because when they mine talc, they're mining it all together. They're not checking to see which talc has magnesium silicate and which ones have aluminum silicate. They're just all putting them in together, and then they go through the processing and making them into baby powder. And so that's how you end up with babies getting cancer, because they're absorbing all that into their skin and they're inhaling it. So that's what causes the cancer. So then my next thing was, once I made that connection, I was like, well, which stones are aluminum silicates? And the 5 that I mentioned are the ones that I found. I found more, but these are the ones that have the hardness to be made into Yoni eggs, that can be shaped into Yoni eggs. They have that level of hardness. The other reason too is that I've seen people selling these, specifically the list, which I'm pointing to. I've seen those as Yoni eggs. So, and again, I'm not sure if there's, an awareness and or if there's an ignorance. I mean, this is one of two things. Either it's awareness and then people don't care because they're making money, or there's ignorance, and they just don't know. But at the same time, they're choosing not to know, because all ignorance is a choice, in my opinion, especially in this day and age. Anything we want to know, it can be researched, we could ask, or we can Google it. We can read it, ask, or Google it. So either way, whether it is a choice to not acknowledge the fact that these stones are dangerous, or it's ignorance around it, either way, there's no excuse to me, because, at this point, again, we're providing tools that are for healing. And what the hell does that mean when we're providing healing tools that are causing more reasons to be healed? So nobody gets a pass with me on that. You should know the products that you're selling. So I'm going to write that down. Discussion about this that was brought up. I was told that, what was the word? Well, it was the danger was passed over as not being that serious, because I was informed that the same elements that are in Yoni eggs are, it's not toxic because it's small trace amounts. And so it's the difference between, or it's in the form that they're in too. So it's the difference between taking supplements and fortified cereal. Well, first of all, my response is, you don't take a supplement for aluminum, because aluminum is not naturally in our body. So we would never be aluminum deficient. So you would never even need any type of mineral that has aluminum in it, first of all. Second of all, it's the same thing like how I mentioned talc, how it's got this element in it that you don't know what it is because it hasn't been tested. It's the same thing with the eggs that have the aluminum silicate. You don't know how much aluminum is in them, so, and there's no way to test that. I mean, whose lab are you going to go to and say, hey, can you check this egg for me to see how much aluminum is in it? So the best practice is just to avoid it altogether. Especially something you're wearing and putting into your room. Our bodies are tuning into that. So we're going to absorb that either way. So that is my whole rant about the stones to avoid. Okay, so the last questions that I get are, where do I get my Yoni egg from? So I have some suggestions, people that I highly recommend, and because I've used their product, or I am aware and I know them, and I know their practices and things like that. My first recommendation is physically going inside a metaphysics store or crystal shop and choosing one. That's your best bet, because then you're going to get a feel for it. You're going to see how big it is. You can see the store, ask them where they got the crystal from, all of that. That's my biggest recommendation. I know most of the people tuning in are in Atlanta. There's Crystal Blue, there's Phoenix and Dragons. Those are the only crystal shops I'm aware of, here. Yeah, okay. So yeah. All right. So yeah, I mean, that's my biggest suggestion. So you can just kind of get a feel for them. My personal recommendations are where I got my clear quartz egg. Well, this one was my jasper was part of a collection of stones that I got. It just happened to be in there. This was purchased from a sister by the name, she goes by my aunt Petrova. She is on Instagram and Facebook, and I know a lot of those of us who are in the community are aware of her. She does like her sensual yoga. Her website is Femme Magic, and I'll type that in. And not only does she have Yoni Eggs, but she's got other feminine hygiene products that she makes that are natural and holistic. Very beautiful, like gorgeous woman, like very gorgeous, very inspiring, very, very sweet, very approachable, very affordable, her products and the energy behind them. Like I got that egg and I pulled it out the little pouch and I was like, oh my God, this feels so good. Like I want to just curl up in it. It was the best feeling crystal I've ever gotten that I didn't have to program first, like for it to feel like that. So, you know, so I'll type in my aunt Trove is her name. You can find her on Facebook, Instagram, and then her website is femmagic, FEMMAGIC.com. And she does regular like goddess workshops and things like that around the country. So she's, you know, wonderful. And if you have any questions, you know, you can reach out to her about the Yoni Eggs and all of that.